Welcome to Momtroversial, the podcast that dives headfirst into the beautiful chaos of motherhood and dishes on the stuff we wish we'd known and nobody tells you. I'm Alyssa, crunchy mom all about organic living. I'm organized, opinionated, and your designated wingwoman in any parenting bar fight. Tori and Leah are preparing for international moves, Leah with a newborn, so they're taking a well-deserved break right now. And today we have on actually a loyal listener, which is like crazy to even say. We have Lauren Kimber on with us, and she is actually, correct me if I say this wrong, a certified sonographer. Is
Yeah,
that
there's a lot of ways
a
you could say
licensed
that.
sonographer? Yeah. So
It's
we're
like
gonna
a
talk
diagnostic
about
metal sonographer.
perfect. There we go.
Yeah.
Diagnostic medical sonographer. And we're gonna talk about all things sonograms, Doppler, what's the difference? And we're gonna hit on how in the world we can not even comprehend that a sonographer cannot be pro-life. So we're getting a little controversial today. Lauren, do you want to just introduce yourself and kind of we'll go from there?
Yeah, sure. Well, like Alyssa said, I'm Lauren. I'm your pro-life sonographer. And again, I don't know how people aren't when they're in sonography, but that's all right. I didn't know I wanted to go into sonography at first. I think I decided on it like the last month of my senior year of high school, but then when I thought of that as an option, I was like, "Oh wait, that's it. This is my mission work. This I can do a lot of good with this." And it really has been it's been incredible. It's probably one of those things where you get into it knowing that, life begins at conception, but then being able to actually see that and all of the changes throughout a fetal development until they're this baby, this huge baby, which they're a baby the whole time, but being able to see
Yeah,
that from beginning to end is life changing, honestly.
that is so cool. And just as a little disclaimer, none of this is medical advice, all that stuff. It's our opinions. Um, and on a more serious note, we're not here to tell you you're a terrible person if you've had an abortion, if you've thought about having an abortion, whatever. We believe that um, women are lied to by the medical community a lot of the times, or I should say, I believe that. Lauren, you can believe whatever you want,
No,
but
I agree.
I believe that women are really lied to about this specific topic, and I think it's purely for to make money and to wage war on families for some reason. And I think it's crazy that we're told by people that call themselves feminists that we can't do something like be a single mom or have this many kids, anything like that, because we're actual feminists here on Momtroversial, and we believe, heck yeah, you can do anything you set your mind to, especially when Jesus is involved. So let's just get right into it. Can you just explain, like in layperson's terms, what a sonogram actually is?
Yeah. So a lot of people get confused because it's in the radiology department, thinking there's like a radiation, and to an extent, there is something being radiated, which is sound, and it's at a very high frequency. It's very, very teeny tiny sound that we cannot hear, and it's much like a whale's echolocation. A whale is swimming in the water. They emit a sound, and then they listen to the reverberation to create this map or image. Based on the difference in the sound when it comes back. Ultrasound is the same way. It emits sound, and then it listens to that reverberation and creates an image on the screen. So that's what ultrasound is.
So is ultrasound and a sonogram different things? Because I totally thought they were the same.
Um, they're the same, but we're sonographers,
Okay.
we're ultrasonographers. They're interchangeable. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, cool, cool, cool. And here's something else that I kind of want to touch on is the sonogram versus Doppler. I'm not sure if you
hmm
call it a controversy, but I know a lot of us moms, especially in the crunchy mom community, they're avoiding ultrasounds and sticking with the Doppler because they believe that the sound waves can cause tissue heating, cellular damage, neurological issues. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure, yeah. So I'm all for informed consent. I know you guys are as well, and that's what I aim to do here. So I'm not gonna, try and skew you one way or the other. I'll tell you what I personally believe, based off of the evidence, and then I'll give you that evidence, and you can draw those conclusions for yourself, which is what I think everyone should do anyway. Whatever is best for your family based on
Amen.
that informed consent. Um, so, um, Doppler and ultrasound, they really do the same thing basically. And it's actually funny that a lot of these crunchy moms will lean more towards just the Doppler versus the ultrasound. Um, but actually, if you look at based a lot of uh, what I'm about to talk about off of the AIUM, which is the American Institute of Ultrasound in Medicine. So they are kind of like the gold standard for ultrasound for America, and every country will have their different organizations, but ultimately it ends up being the same thing. So um, for in the AIUM, we have something called the ALARA principle, which is the as low as reasonably achievable. So sonographers are going to do their job by um, taking their images, getting the answers that they need, and that's it. Nothing more, nothing less, just what we need because we want to limit ultrasound because there is theoretical damage that can happen with ultrasounds. So the theoretical damage, um, we'd have to dive into the physics. So every single sonographer, when they go to school, they have to take physics class. They have to learn the physics of ultrasound, and it is long and kind of boring. It's very extensive, but it is really important for understanding how ultrasound works and how you can use it responsibly. So we're all trained in every aspect of the physics of it, and we're using it as we scan you. And we have to take a test and everything before we can even be certified. So we have to take a physics test first. So when when we look at the studies, um, and we'll see this in crunchy pregnancy books. I have one that I like a week by week book that I really enjoyed. However, I disagreed with what their conclusion was about the ultrasounds. So I usually just skip over that part. But I did look into those studies that they were talking about. And so for informed consent, we're going to talk a little bit about the studies that they're referencing when it comes to that theoretical tissue damage. So the ones that are in question are studies that were done in the 90s. And they were
Okay.
done, there's about 3 or 4 different studies that are usually referenced. Um, there's the first one being uh, does ultrasound, especially prolonged and a repeated ultrasound, cause any damages? So there were 3 minor studies done, and when I mean minor, they studied about 4,000 people, 4,000 children,
Okay.
ones who had there was a control study, and then obviously the ones that were that had more ultrasound on their bodies as babies. And what they were finding was that there was a slight correlation between the ultrasound and babies or children who grew up being not right-handed um, in boys. So specifically the boys, there was a slight correlation, like they were slightly
Interesting.
more left-handed people than normal. Um, then there's also delayed speech and dyslexia or a slightly lower birth rate. So people will see these things and they will freak out and say, I don't want that for my baby. I'm out. Um, but again, this was over 4,000 people and it was a very slight correlation and not, it was enough for them to say, for them to come forward with that. But when a larger scale study was done in 1992, they found there was no difference whatsoever between any of these kids. So you can do with that what you will.
Interesting.
Um, but in the large study, there was really not a difference. Um, another study was um, they studied a group of people with speech delays versus people who didn't have speech delays. And they calculated odd, this odds ratio of 2.8 was the number that they got. So um, speech delays were found in were roughly like 2 times more likely when you were exposed to more ultrasound, but they were just, this is again just in theory, not so much in practice. So um, I would say, obviously do your own research, of course. Um,
Mhm.
these were smaller studies versus the larger study, so they obviously conflict. Um, but personally, as someone who's gone through all of the physics of these things, which I can go into just a little bit more without boring people, because physics was, I enjoyed physics, but there were times where it just went on. Um,
So fair.
so, yeah. Um, so, in general, regular ultrasound is between 2 and 5 megahertz. And you're going to want to take into consideration something called duty factor. Duty factor is the percentage of time that the ultrasound machine is on. So it's a percentage. So if the duty factor is 100%, like if you switch your machine to continuous wave mode, then it's transmitting 100% and listening as well at the same time. That's not what we're using when we put it on your baby. We use something called pulsed wave. We will put continuous wave on if we feel like we really need a very detailed image of something, but I have never once used it on any pregnant mother. Um, what we
Sure.
use is something called pulsed wave, and it is when the machine is on, only like on listening, or not listening, transmitting for 1% of the time. The other 99% of the time, it is listening. So if you are being scanned for, let's say, 100 minutes, then your body is absorbing only 1 straight minute of ultrasound. And obviously, you're not doing a 100-minute scan, you're doing a 20-minute to a 45-minute scan. So your body is really not absorbing a lot. And as far as the ALARA principle, the as low as reasonably achievable principle that we follow, we're not actually even putting Doppler on the baby, actually, because that is slightly more power. So it's actually not advised for us to put Doppler on the baby's heart if we don't need to, because we can actually just capture the image of the baby's heart moving and measure just basically the color change that your cursor is on. And it creates a graph for you based off of that motion. So we don't actually put Doppler on babies' hearts anymore during any of these routine exams unless we feel like it's medically necessary. So when you go to like your midwife and they put the Doppler on you, like I'm not saying that's harmful. I don't believe it is. Um, it's kind of the same thing. So you end up it kind of is the same thing. They don't even put Doppler on you during the actual exam for that ALARA
Hmm.
principle. So I think that it's interesting that people will do the Doppler but not the ultrasound when it's honestly basically the same thing. So anyway, that was a long answer to that question, but there's your science.
No, but it was a good answer. It was a good answer. It's really interesting because really you don't really know the difference, I think, unless you've studied it like you have. And I like without any education on it, my assumption is, oh, well, ultrasound is more because I'm getting more out of it, you know?
Mhm.
Um, but it doesn't sound like it is, which is kind of cool. Um, and then it's like, a minute. That's crazy
Basically.
that
Yeah,
it's
and
like
modern
not that
ultrasound
much.
machines, yeah, these modern ultrasound machines too are really incredible because they're getting more and more efficient. So that's why it really is considered, like, honestly, some of this, I think, even the safest imaging mode. And it's what doctors will go to first before they decide to put someone into a CT machine or give them radiation. So you're not actually getting any radiation. You're getting very little and very gentle ultrasound frequency. Um, the last thing that I will cover is something called cavitation, which is what people tend to be afraid of. Cavitation is effectively like when the ultrasound is on a tissue, it creates gas bubbles that will expand and burst and causing tissue damage. So people see that term and again freak out. Um,
Mhm.
Cavitation is it's important to still learn about it, and we still learn about it so that we can scan more efficiently, so that there is lower risk for cavitation. Um, but the risk is actually really just a theoretical risk because it ultrasound can cause cavitation. Does it? Um, the kind that you're getting when you're getting your baby scanned is um, it's not that kind. It's not going to be as strong or as concentrated to cause cavitation. Um, it actually really is just uh, it's very gentle. So people will see that there's spot treatments, let's say, or like people will see like, oh, I can get my fat melted or my skin tightened with ultrasound. So why would I want to do that to my baby? Um, but those are much higher uh, frequencies. Like we're talking, but like if I'm scanning a baby, I'll use, let's say, 2 to 5 megahertz. This other spot treatment is going to be 24 megahertz, and it's designed specifically to create cavitation for the purpose of these spot treatments or skin tightening or whatever. But the ultrasound you're getting for your baby, it's not the same type of ultrasound. So again, it's theoretical, and most of what these disclaimers are it's CYA because again it's in theory, but you do
Everything
still
is.
have to disclose it. So I understand why they have to, but I do believe that there's unnecessary fear that comes with that. So
This is why, like, what if, okay, you disclose it, but what if your doctor just sat down for a minute and explained it to you, you know?
mhm.
Like, what if doctors valued, I think if they valued informed consent more, they would actually get so much more cooperation from us, which is crazy because I feel like they think that it's the opposite. It's like, oh, if I tell you
Right.
everything, you're not gonna want it. Well, like, maybe I just like want to understand.
Right, yeah, and I think that just well, and then this is my little way of being controversial, but I feel like when they don't disclose everything, it's honestly just kind of a control thing, and we have to blindly trust
Yeah.
doctors because they're doctors. Um, and if they gave us the tools to understand these things, then maybe we wouldn't need them as much.
No, literally. So let's go into touching on just, the belief, the pro-life belief that um life begins at conception and your baby, while the baby is relying on you to survive, is still their own human being. And I want to talk about how you feel and the reactions you've seen from different people when they see that first image or hear that first heartbeat from their baby. Like, what do you feel watching them, like, what are the kinds of just different emotions that go through both you and the person being scanned, especially if it's their first baby? I feel like it's just the biggest miracle.
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. Um, honestly, it's one of the best feelings just because, I mean, it never gets old. I've scanned I don't even know how many babies, and, like, it seriously never gets old seeing the teeny tiny little beans or the little feet, the little hands, the heart rate. Of course, the heart rate is always life-changing, honestly, because like you said, people are really they're lied to a lot. I've seen Planned Parenthood propaganda where they show just some random part of the body or just some random like splotch of tissue, and they're like, "Well, that's what you're fighting for. That's your baby," which is just a blatant lie. It looks nothing like what they show you that it looks like. Um, and it's crazy that they're able to lie on such a grand scale when we have this technology that shows us that clearly it's not it's not what they're saying it is. It's completely different. Even even when that baby is 5 weeks and 5 days old, which is the earliest you can see that fetal heart rate, um, they look human. Like you can see their head, you can see their back, you can see their little tummy, and you can see that fetal heart rate going. Um,
Uh-huh.
and it only gets more and more clear, obviously, as they get bigger. But they were always that same person from the beginning. It doesn't matter if you're 30 weeks or if you're 3 weeks, they're there. And just because our
Hmm.
machines can't see anything smaller than 5 weeks and 5 days doesn't mean that they're not there. And I think that they really play on emotions and they play on um, ignorance. Because if you're not informed, if you don't see that baby, then there's a
Yeah.
higher chance that you'll give them your business. But when I've shown people their babies, because I'm not allowed at the ERs that I've worked at to really do the pro-life work that I do. I don't stop
Hmm.
them from looking at my screen. I can't tell them um, what I'm seeing. I cannot diagnose. That is not my job because I'm not a doctor. I cannot diagnose. I know what I'm looking at, but I can't diagnose. Um, but even in the ER setting where I can't say anything, you can see the change in their face. I've had so many women who said, I had no idea that babies look like that young. And then on the other side of things at like pregnancy centers, I've worked at pregnancy centers as well, where the mothers will come in not sure if they're going to keep their baby. But the moment that they see them, you see the conflict in their eyes. And that conflict is undeniable because it's either then that they are affirmed, this is my baby, that is a baby, I've always known that life begins at conception, or that they're not affirmed, or like that um, they're suddenly conflicted because all this time I thought that this was just a clump of cells, but clearly this is a
Yeah.
baby inside of me. And that in that moment they'll either soften or you'll see them harden. But regardless, seeing that baby does make a change. And I think there's a statistic that 85% of women who see their baby and hear their heartbeat will change their mind from deciding on whether they're going to abort their baby or keep their baby, which is such a powerful statistic and really should be shared more because it's so powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right about that because I remember um in the movie, gosh, what's it called? Unplanned, where Abby Johnson, who used to run a Planned Parenthood clinic, she talked about how they would never ever show the moms their
Mhm,
ultrasounds because they have to do ultrasounds to figure out how to dismember the baby and to figure out all that stuff. And they would never show the mom because almost all the time the mom would walk out and not
mhm,
go through with it. Um, which is also so evil.
mhm,
But yeah, and I want to touch on what you said too about the crisis pregnancy centers. I feel like so many people don't know these exist, and I just want to like put a word in for them because you can find them almost everywhere. Even in the small little town that we're living in, there is a pregnancy center. They will they will give you free ultrasounds. They will help you figure out healthcare. They'll even walk with you after your baby is born, like they do little baby showers, they take donations, all this kind of stuff. Um, and people, people only hear about Planned Parenthood, is well, Planned Parenthood's my only option. They're the only ones helping women. That's so not true. It's just that somehow Planned Parenthood is getting all the government funding, which is ridiculous.
mhm,
And all the, you know, wealthy people that financially benefit if you get an abortion are sponsoring them so they can have their TV ads and all that kind of stuff. But if you look around for like crisis pregnancy center or free ultrasounds, that kind of thing, you can find it. There are people that want so badly to help set you up for success with your baby, even if you don't feel like that's possible. And so I just want to make a plug for that because so many people don't know about it. And I've talked to so many people that are like, well, where's the pro life movement? And I'm like, we're everywhere. We're
yeah,
everywhere. Like, I just went down to the center in our town and I was like, if you ever have a mom that wants to know about like car seats or anything, like I'm a CPST and I can help. And it's free. Like, you know, you can come to me, I can try and come to you, you know, that might not always be possible, but someone can always pull into my driveway and we can install a car seat. Um,
that's really cool.
or
Yeah,
like talk about what kind of car seat you need. Yeah, that kind of thing. And so there are all these resources. They just are putting their money into actually serving women. And sometimes that means they don't get as much visibility, which sucks.
yeah, it's not
But yeah,
fun, but they're everywhere. You're right, they really are
Yeah.
everywhere. I've like, the one that I worked at was in El Paso, and there's several, and actually some of them even have like it's not just for women, they have fatherhood resources, they have counseling classes, CPR classes. They'll help you sign up for a WIC, for SNAP. The one that I worked at, one of the founders little like her dream project finally came true like I think a year or so ago, where they could put tiny houses in the back of their clinic for women who needed a place to stay. They could stay in those tiny houses. Well, yeah, it was amazing. And they're like beautiful, beautiful places like for them to stay and just be at peace and know that they have someone literally right across the yard from them, rooting for them. And it's not just baby. Yes, we are, uh, obviously we are pro birth, but we are pro life. And that's when the baby is conceived, that is while the baby is growing, that is for the life that is carrying the life, that is for the mother, that is for afterwards too. A lot of these centers will help you up until your baby is 2, 5. They'll even walk alongside you for life because they just love loving on people, and we love seeing
Hmm.
people choose life for their babies. So it's more than just being pro birth. We are pro life every stage.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah. So let's go back to the sonography side of things, and talk about like 2D versus 3D versus 4D ultrasounds, because that also makes a huge impact. I know my first 4D ultrasound was because I was high risk with Reagan. So they gave me one, and it was, I mean, she was my first, so I, like, remember looking at the picture, I was like, "I wonder if this is what she'll look like." And then she came out, and that was what she looked like because, duh, it was, like, a straight picture, but I, like, could not believe that that was what she actually looked like, and we actually just super spontaneously went and got one done for Quincy as well, and it was so fun, and the girls were so excited to see her. We think she looks just like KK, but, it like, that is so cool to be able to see, like, the literal, like, face of your child.
Mhm.
I'll try and put it up maybe in the thumbnail for this episode or something like that because it is so cool to see. But what is your experience with like the 3D and 4D ultrasounds? What's the difference between 3D and 4D? I don't even know.
Girl, actually, you're
And
asking the wrong
what
person.
does that do?
Actually, I've they don't really teach those things in school. Those are the things that you actually have to kind of cross train into. It's kind of like
Okay.
you have to kind of uh, find somebody who can do it in your job or while you're interning, and get them to teach you. And it's hard because, first of all, you have to have a willing participant. You have to have someone who's pregnant there and willing to go through some trial and error with you. So it's hard to get that kind of practice. Unless it's standard procedure at wherever you're working, which it usually isn't. So I've played around with it a little bit, and it is fascinating. But honestly, I don't know the difference between 3D and 4D. But it is really cool to see those baby faces. I bet your baby was just the cutest thing. It's going to be so fun
Oh my gosh, she was so
to
cute.
see
I wonder if
her
I can,
afterwards.
let's see. Let's show a picture on the screen. If you're watching, you'll be able to see.
I know.
Boop,
We'll
boop,
describe
boop.
it to you.
She's super cute. Okay, here we go.
Oh
There
my
she is.
Stop it right now.
Yeah.
Look at that sweet baby. Oh, it does look like KK. The
Uh-huh.
nose, the mouth.
I know,
How
right?
sweet. Sorry, I just called your
I think
baby
she
it. We
really
know that
is.
she's a girl. My
That's
bad.
okay.
I always feel bad
That
calling
is
babies
okay.
it.
I know, me too. But you must have to like really think through that when you're doing ultrasounds and like you
Oh yeah.
don't know if they want to know the gender or like that
Oh
kind of
yeah.
thing. That would be so hard for me.
It's hard all around because my like your face can't betray things either, and like it's not even just the gender too because I will see that, and I can't tell them, but also even just the good news, if they're freaking out and they think that they might be miscarrying and I see that baby is fine, I still can't give that away. Or if
That's
they're
so
just really
hard.
excited to be there and then I see that baby is no longer alive, I still can't give that away. And so my face has to remain very neutral. And that's probably one of the hardest things, honestly. Like I've scanned patients and then gone to the back writing my notes crying because someone just lost their baby. Um, it's hard. There's a lot of emotions. No matter what, it's a very personal. Um, honestly, it's really fulfilling. It's a very fulfilling job, but it's so personal. So if you're not a very people person, it might not be the right field for you. But it's very intimate. I feel like almost a sacred line of work to be in touch with that
Hmm.
little life that's inside. So, um,
Yeah.
but yeah, your baby is really cute.
Thanks. I think so too. Okay, here's I think one of our last really political questions, but we often hear mainstream media or politicians claim that a heartbeat at 6 weeks is just like manufactured electrical activity or fetal tissue vibration. When you put the probe on a mom at 6 or 7 weeks, what are you like not just visually identifying, but like what is the medical identification that you are making?
Well, first of all, that's just a lie, like just a flat out lie. I think I know what little fact they're trying to twist for their own agenda. But even though it is based on something that's true, it is still a lie. So, to clarify, when you get a Doppler of your baby's heartbeat, that's not the actual sound your baby's heart is making. So that's probably where they're getting that. So it isn't like you're putting a microphone to the baby's heart and getting a sound. It is, synthetic, it is manufactured by the machine, but it is still the motion. So it is still capturing that Doppler motion. So it's the difference between a microphone versus capturing Doppler. However, does that mean that that's not your baby's heartbeat? No, that is absolutely your baby's heartbeat. Or sorry, yes. I don't know what I asked. But yes, that is absolutely your baby's heartbeat. And when you're when you can't see that and then they lie to you saying that that's all fake and everything, it's honestly a
Hmm.
half truth, which is a lie. So, but when I see it, yes, it is
Yeah.
absolutely their heartbeat. And they say at week 6, but the heartbeat starts way sooner than that. It starts at 21
Hmm.
days, but we just
Oh
can't see
wow.
it because they are so, so small. We cannot see them. We can't see baby at all. They're there, but we cannot see them. And they really, really are banking on that, the fact that you cannot see them. And that's just really the
Hmm.
basis behind a lot of their propaganda. Because if you cannot see um, a baby, you can easily be tricked into thinking that you don't have a baby in you. You're very susceptible to the whole "it's a clump of cells" rhetoric. And overall, it's really just it's manipulative, um, and
Hmm.
they know what they're doing. So yeah, heartbeat starts sooner. It is their actual heartbeat. It is the machine making that sound for you, reflecting what the Doppler is capturing.
That's so cool. I didn't even know that. 21 days. So to be clear, if you put the Doppler, I don't know if this is a legitimate question, but like if you were using it on me, it would still be that manufactured situation as well, because
Right.
that's just how the machine works, not because my heart is not beating as an adult.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's just if I were to put the probe on even just my arm and then jiggle it, it will make that sound. And you'll probably experience that if you have a home Doppler and you're trying to find baby's heart rate and you have the volume turned all the way up. It's that ear splitting, just like sound while you're trying to find
Hmm.
it. And it's just capturing the motion. So even when you're doing that, it's not the actual sound of you moving it on your arm. It's just capturing the Doppler and then giving you a sound to go with the movement.
Gotcha, gotcha. That's cool. What do you think about having like an at-home Doppler and doing it yourself? But-
Oh, I'm for it. I have one. I think it's really helpful as far as like I don't think that it's not harmful unless you're sitting there with it on you 24/7 on one spot. You're not going to damage anything. You're really just doing it honestly. I feel like most people do it for peace of mind, and I think that's much more
Mhm.
valuable than any tiny, teeny, tiny risk that might happen theoretically with the Doppler. Peace of mind is valuable.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about something fun. Babies' personalities in the womb. So I just want to know, like, some of the funny things that you've caught babies doing while you're scanning. Like Reagan, later on in my third trimester, she would kick the probe anytime it was on my belly. She would,
Oh my
like, if they poked her, she would poke back. And it was so funny to me.
That is so funny. Yeah, a lot of babies, they'll do that because when you're pushing on them and you're moving around, they'll kick back. It's kinda funny. Um,
Yeah.
so many things, like, they really do have teeny tiny personalities. Um, well, I was blessed, I'm not working currently. I still keep up my education and everything, but I am a stay-at-home mom for transparency. But when I was pregnant with my daughter Amelia, she was a very photographed baby because I was at work and I could check on her maybe once a week or every other week. Um, and so I would see her doing all sorts of things. When she was small enough, she liked to dive like you would into a pool. She would be upright, head up, feet down, and then she would just dive suddenly and go upside down just for fun. Like you could see her just doing it over and over. She would just which is makes total sense because she's a wild child. I've seen babies, they'll grab their umbilical cord and they'll suck on it because that's kinda like one of their first little passies, like or their thumbs. Um, the suckling is instinctive and they'll look for things to suckle, whether it's the cord, their thumb. I've seen them sucking on the placenta, like, on top of the mom's placenta, just nomming away at it, but I think my
That's
favorite thing to
hilarious.
see before they get too big and are head down, maybe around 14 to 18 weeks, a lot of babies will kick their way up the uterus and then slide down on their bums, like, and they'll kick, kick, kick,
No.
and then slide. It is so cute. It's the cutest thing, and I love it whenever I am lucky enough to catch it. But those are real human traits. These are humans and you see
Yeah.
them afterwards, after they're born, they still do these things because it's the same person from the beginning up until birth and then beyond. You see those same traits afterwards. So it blows my mind when people think that they're just these inanimate blobs
Yeah.
inside of you. That's so not true. They have personalities.
It's
They
very
like to have
uneducated and
fun.
ignorant.
It is. And
Yeah.
again, they prey on that ignorance.
That's so cute. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
That's so cute. I love that. Yeah. Quincy right now, if I like she's dropped down because I'm so pregnant.
Oh, you're ready.
But if I like rest my hands, so ready. If I rest my hands on top of my belly and kind of push down a little bit, that annoys her. Like every time she will wake up and like push back on me. She's like, literally, I already have no room.
That's so
I'm like,
funny.
okay,
Well,
go ahead.
even midwives will tell you, like, if your baby like, "Oh, not so like, not so, uh, active today, like, my baby, I'm a little worried." They'll tell you to drink some cold water, and as soon as you do, they're just like, "Oh my gosh, that's cold," and they'll jiggle because 'cause they're responding to that stimulus. So it's really cool. I love it.
It's so fun. It is so, so cool. Um, So, kind of final thoughts here. What is one thing that you would want every pregnant mom, pro choice skeptic, or like, I'm not sure if I could ever do the whole pregnancy baby thing to know about, like, specifically babies in the womb, sonography, that kind of thing?
Yeah. I would say if you are pregnant, get the ultrasound, especially that first one. Um And if you're not pregnant, look up an ultrasound because every person needs to know. They I feel like this should be required learning in schools or just for just being alive. Like you should know where you come from. Um, look at an ultrasound and then you decide for yourself. And if you are pregnant, get the ultrasound. One, because, especially that first one to know where that baby is, that is super important. So even if you don't get if you don't get any other ultrasounds, the 2 I will say, please, please get is the first one so that you know you don't have an ectopic pregnancy because that can cause very, very, um, well, critical damage to your body or inhibit your
Mhm.
ability to have children in the future potentially. You wanna know that that baby is in the right place. and that you don't need any intervention, and then you're fine not to have any other ultrasounds until the anatomy scan so that you can know, again, informed consent. You need to know if you need to be planning things for your baby, if they need surgery right away when they're born, if they have special needs, whatever the case is. Those are the two
Hmm.
ultrasounds that I would say get them. Just please, 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 just be informed.
Yeah. With Reagan and Kennedy, I had them through the military hospitals where we lived. So I had ultrasounds every single appointment, which I didn't really realize was not normal, um, until like halfway through Kennedy. But with this baby, because we're doing a home birth and going through a midwife, we've had the 12-week scan, the 20-week scan, and she's used Doppler at my appointments just to confirm the heartbeat. And then this 4D scan that we just got because just wanted a picture. But yeah, it's definitely been a different experience though. Like just not having like, pages and pages of ultrasound photos of her.
That's so true. I had
Uh,
so many
yeah.
ultrasounds of Amelia. This my last pregnancy with Teddy. Um,
Hmm.
I went with a midwife as well, and I had like two to maybe three ultrasounds, and it was killing me because I'm like, oh, I wish I had a machine at home because I could just do this myself. So it is different,
Especially
but
knowing all of the things that you could
mhm.
see.
Oh yes,
Mm,
it was very difficult, but I did it. So
you go, girl. I love it. So we just want to reiterate, you know, science illuminates the proof that a baby is alive. It doesn't it it doesn't obscure it. It doesn't take away that belief for us. Like that proves it. And if you really want to look at it objectively, I would really encourage that because I think if you can be objective, you would agree with us. But I also totally understand that maybe you've had an abortion, and if you do look at that objectively and you do come to the conclusion that that baby was alive, that is so incredibly difficult. And there are also like these crisis pregnancy centers, they have counseling too. If you feel like you need it, they're there for you. Like it really is pro-life, not pro-birth. Um, so that's pretty much our discussion. What we want to do next is go to our Momtroversial moments. So Lauren, do you have a Momtroversial moment for us today?
do I came prepared. um,
All right.
so I have a 4-year-old. Um, and she's always been a talker from very young, and Alyssa can attest to this because she watched her probably I don't even remember she was probably what 1.5 when our girls met.
Yeah.
She talked so early, uh, and the things she says they just crack me up. I keep like a note in my phone of all the things that she says that just crack me up. But every once in a while, she'll say something, like, that's accidentally profound, and she definitely didn't mean it that way, but I'll be like, "Wow, like, this little kid just she gets it, man." And one of my favorite ones, something like, I stepped on a crayon and I was gonna go throw it away, and she says, "No, mom, broken crayons still color," and, like, things like that, and I'm like, "Ugh, you're so right." But this one in particular, to stay kind of on topic, she's in theater and, they did a production of Seussical the musical, super cute
Cute.
musical, and it mostly follows, the story of Horton Hears a Who and Horton Hatches an Egg, um, which if you know Dr. Seuss and his writings, he slipped a lot of his, political beliefs kind of into his writing, and, she was singing all the songs and everything, and she was just kinda really thinking about them, and she she was just kinda saying, like, every life like, she was like, "Every life matters, mama. Like, a person is a person, no matter how small." And I'm like, "Yes, you are so right, girl. You're gonna be okay if you just understand that, like, you are gonna be okay."
Hmm.
Even a child can grasp this concept, you know? So, she cracks
Yeah.
me up, but the accidental profoundness is it's hilarious and touching, and sometimes I really need it, actually.
That's so cute and so on topic for today. I love
Yeah,
it.
right?
Love it. Well, my controversial moment is about Reagan. Recently, apparently, when you're super pregnant, I guess you emit pheromones that make your other kids like just want to like be attached to your hip. And for sure that has been happening the last couple of weeks for us. And Reagan has, especially during quiet time, she gets bored. She has a pretty long quiet time because I need a nap. Kennedy still needs a nap, so like she's just stuck in it. Um, but she's, a lot of she'll come into my room, "Mommy, I just want to be with you. I just don't want to be alone, Mommy." So we had a talk. I was like, "You know what? Even when you're in your room by yourself, you're not alone because God is there." And, she has her little Yodo Bible cards. And so I'm like, just like God talked to the people in the Bible, he can talk to you too if you listen. And sometimes you hear it and sometimes you don't, but you know, he does talk to us. So you're not alone. She goes, "Okay, whatever, whatever." So this happened a couple days ago. It was probably like a week after this conversation, maybe at least a few days. She comes running out. "Mommy, mommy, mommy, I heard God talk to me." And I was like, "Oh, what did he say?" He said, "Reagan, I'm here. You're not alone." And it was just the cutest thing because,
Oh my
like,
goodness.
he says, "Let the little children come to me." Like, I fully believe that she did hear that. And I think that that's just so cool. And she was so excited about it. She was so proud. She was excited. She was like, it was just the cutest thing ever. Loved it so
Oh,
much.
that is
That
so
was kind of
sweet.
the
I
first
love
time
that so much.
that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
I love there's different challenges, I guess, as they get older, but like these kinds of things make me just love it. Like, yes,
I
let's
love
get
that.
into this next phase. Let's like talk about these things. I love it.
I love the
I
Jesus
love it.
talks with the littles.
So funny, so cute, so great. But yeah, thank you so much, Lauren, for coming on and for making it so I don't have to like talk to a screen by myself because I don't think that'd be enjoyable for anyone.
No
Um,
worries.
but super, super appreciate you. Super appreciate everyone listening. If you loved this episode, please feel free to rate us 5 stars, follow us, share it. Like sharing is caring. It's how people find out about us. And while we're not really trying to make $1 million here, it is kind of cool to watch people say, "Oh yeah, I shared this with my friend," or I told my friend about your podcast. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, really? Like, do you think we're not that bad?" So super appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening. Lauren, thank you again for coming on and just educating us on all things sonography because I think that's a super mom topic. And to all the pregnant mamas out there, it will end and you'll have a baby. And we're just going to keep saying that over and over. At least I am for the next, hopefully not 3 weeks, but could be. So, yeah, thanks again, guys, and we'll talk to you later.